but credit alone is not enough because credit has expanded to every urban area in the world, but has not reached rural areas very well because farmers don't have anything they can buy with that credit. The farm inputs that they need are not available. So we also bulk purchase the farm inputs on their behalf and sell it to them through that credit scheme. Then they have the farm inputs like fertilizer and seed, but they don't know how to use it. So we bundle together education so they know how to effectively use those things. Then they grow this big bumper harvest, but then they don't have the market access. So what we do is we provide that market access so they can sell all those crops together. And so, like, if I can draw on the board.
That's what the professor from Harvard suggested.
Is, we're providing that finance.
Can you make it a little bit firmer, heavier weight line?
Yeah, maybe a thicker pen or something.
Oh, here's another one here.
Black, or if you press hard on the blue, that'll work too.
Oh, good. Well, I'll use this black one. Oh, is this gonna?
Yeah.
We provide finance, but then again, that's not enough. We also have to provide the inputs. Even if you have cash in an area with low infrastructure, there's nowhere to buy fertilizer and seed. And then even if you have it, you don't know how to use it, so we provide the education also. And then you manage to grow the big crop. You need somewhere to sell it. Otherwise, it's basically a useless business endeavor. So what 1 Acre Fund's innovation is we have this service bundle. It brings all the pieces together. And it's not terribly unique. There's lots of players that are providing farmers with education services or finance services, but it doesn't work unless it's all together for very, very poor farmers. I'm sure you know that from when you're working with rural people, they need multiple interventions because they're starting from scratch. So that's the 1 Acre Fund bundle, and what that does is allows farmers to generate a 100% gain in their farm income and basically pull themselves out of poverty, or at least begin that process. And our milestones over the next 3 years are to generate 100% gain in farm income on average, for 30,000 families. And what's really important is it's not a handout. It's intended to be financially self-sustaining. So we've so far have a 97% repayment rate where farmers give us back the costs of providing this service bundle. And so we are aiming for 100% financial sustainability on field costs. There will always be a donor component to our work to do things like new site startup and monitoring and evaluation, but the core offering, we really want to make it financially sustainable because that's what's going to make it scalable over time. Microfinance is now in every single urban area in the world, and we're small now, but we really dream big of being in every rural area in the world eventually, because we think that this kind of service bundle is just a great product that farmers need, and it's not being provided by the market right now. So right now, it's much more modest. We're in 2007, we reached 600 families, but we basically figured out what we're doing. We've been around for 2 years now. We sort of figured out, learned from the customer what they need and how to best serve them. Next year, we'll serve at least 4,000 families, and at least 10,000 families next year. And the year after that, 30,000 families. And we've been putting together a lot of the hiring infrastructure, a lot of the MIS and the financial infrastructure to make sure that we can actually make that happen.
When do you think you would go outside of Kenya?
We actually started a program in southwest Rwanda, and it sounds pretty random to do that, but there's a great women's group that we're working with that has 25,000 households in it. And most of our clients are women, most of them are farmers. This group was organized for another purpose, to provide health education. But it's just a wonderful network that we're working with, and we think our potential to scale within that group very quickly is pretty great.
Mm-hmm. Stick with that because I think there's a case right there. What are the considerations you had to go through pro and con to make that decision?
Making that decision was difficult. A lot of things had to come into place at the same time. First of all, there had to be funding, and thankfully we had generous funders that were willing to fund something a little bit different. Two, there had to be a good program fit. You know, we're following on the heels of another nonprofit organization called World Relief that organized this large women's group. And we were concerned, did World Relief bid up the salaries too high for us to work there, for example, or were people there accustomed to a handout model or something like that? It turned out that that was not the case, that they had done a really fantastic job of organizing just a fantastic network of women. It's almost like a military regimented kind of a thing. The third piece was it's people, and I'm sure any business person understands this, that especially in an early stage organization, finding the right person to run something is very important. And thankfully, the guy that we put down on the ground to do just some preliminary research for 3 months on the site turned out to be just a godsend, just a fantastic human being who is leading our work there, and he's just been a great partner in this work.
Did you have to get other funding for this, did I hear you say?
Mm-hmm. We had to get incremental funding to be
From?
able to consider it.
Had to go back to your regular people, or?
No, actually our regular people have been doing a great job,
Yeah.
thank you for of just introducing us around and raising more funds and spreading the word, and every time another check comes in, we dream bigger of what more we can accomplish.
Give me 2 minutes on this new guy, because you're banking on him tremendously to run the whole country.
You know, his resume is fantastic. He's a former Peace Corps volunteer in Cameroon, actually, and has that kind of, from that Peace Corps experience, has that life dedication to helping the poor. He's got a serious career commitment that is hard to find. We, as an organization, we live in the rural areas with the communities that we serve so that we can learn as much as possible from them. So finding someone that's willing to do that and has a passion for doing that is very difficult. But he combines that with just an innate business acumen that's really hard to describe. It's not from any work experience, certainly. He has really no other work experience other than the Peace Corps. But what the Peace Corps does is people that are successful brings out this entrepreneurial spirit, and he organized, I won't go into it in great detail, but a large water program for 20 communities, and he has just the instincts of a business person, and he's really brought that together.
And what will his role be?
He's basically our country director, who's responsible for all the initial hiring and setting up all the MIS systems and all the infrastructure.
And is this in Kenya and
in Rwanda.
Okay.
And but then he's obviously very focused on hiring local staff. We just hired 12 local staff people, and all of our day-to-day operations, our regular operations, are run by country staff people.
Am I correct?
What's his name?
Eric Pullman.
P-U-L-L-M-A-N.
P-O-H-L-M-A-N.
Am I correct that the way this came about, you were networking around and found out these people were not going to get the grant was not going to get renewed, which left an organization without money?
Yes. They had a USAID contract that
Right.
has an expiration of
Right.
5 years. And so it's a timely thing because the USAID contract had just expired
Right.
for this women's group of 25,000 households.
Right.
And over time, it's a strong network, but without any money, it's possible it could have kind of faded away. So we thought the time was very important to move quickly to try to get this running. And then the right person just dropped in from the sky, and everything kind of worked out.
Any problems or challenges with the government in Rwanda?
The government has been very cooperative, and I imagine you've had very similar experiences where I think the government in any country is kind of like a company, like if you're working in someone else's department, like marketing, and you're doing a project there, you should let the VP of marketing know that you're doing a project in their department, and you should sit down with them and have breakfast and build a relationship. And it's the same thing with the government in Rwanda or Kenya. We've taken a lot of effort to, before we begin our work, we just sit down, we build relationships with people. And in Rwanda, it's a very regimented system. You have to get a letter from everybody, and they're inevitably very happy to support us. We've had a great partnership with the leader of our district that we're working in, and it's been just, the government has been very supportive of our work.
At this point, you're X months in, having accomplished what so far?
Yeah, in Rwanda or
Yeah.
Kenya? In Rwanda, it's very young. We've only been operating for about 4 months, and we've got we started a pilot of 50 farmers. So we planted with those 50 farmers that are about to harvest, and we hired 12 staff, and we're currently enrolling 500 farmers into the program.
And do you see major differences you're going to have to use there as opposed to what you're doing now?
Yes, there's significant differences in Rwanda. The land sizes are much smaller. There's very little road infrastructure also. Up till even like last month, there was really no cell coverage from a cell phone perspective. People are incredibly poor. It's just really pretty amazing to see. Just like Kenya, but it's even to the next level. And so we made adjustments to our program model, and it looks it's night and day. It's a very different program model there.
What about the challenge of diluting your efforts in Kenya in order to get this one going?
And that's why I feel like having the right person was so important.
Yeah.
I spend maybe 5 hours a week emailing with this guy and providing operational tools that we've used in Kenya, but very much he's proactive and he runs the entire operation himself, and I really see him as more of a partner in this operation. And that's one way to achieve scale is we're looking for more of these people that have this kind of life dedication to serving the poor, but just combine that with raw competency. We want to build a partnership, almost like a law firm or a consulting firm, really, where the more of these guys we can get together and in place, if there were like 100 of us, like how much human good could we do in the world?
Behind you, you have some goals for reaching numbers 30,000 families. How many of those are you aiming to have from Rwanda?
Probably about half.
Really?
Even though it's a younger program, actually knowing what we're doing and having a pretty set program model makes a big difference.
So you're assuming this is going to be a giant step forward in another country?
Yeah, absolutely. And it sounds like a lot of families, but compared to the need, it's a drop in the bucket, and we really just see this as our first step. Like, it might seem kind of ridiculous to dream very, very ambitiously at this stage, but this would be a proof of concept that we have a program model that can change people's lives, that we can measure for a lot of people, scalable, and also financially sustainable. That would just be a first step, and we really have great dreams of helping other organizations do our program model if they're interested. There's lots of microfinance organizations that have an enormous customer footprint, millions and millions of borrowers, and they would love to reach more and more rural borrowers, more poor borrowers. So we think that a lot of those organizations might be interested in putting together some kind of financial product for rural people.
Of course they will. They want to see that those loans are as effective as possible, and they maybe don't have the expertise to supply the other parts of the bundle that you do. This is a very exciting model.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like this part, the input provision, the education, and the markets, financial institutions don't know anything about that, but they know finance and they've got a ton of customers. And if we can provide, it's not hard to provide these wholesale input purchases and warehouse that somewhere. I mean, we're doing it for 500 farmers now. It's not that different for 50,000 or 500,000 people. Education can be compartmentalized into simple systems and things like that. Market access gets easier with the more farmers you have, and the potential for replication.
Let me ask you about sustainability, because that seems to be a very key value for you in constructing the model. How about the increased demand that's being placed on the land? As you have better fertilizer and better seed, you get the bump in crop production the first year, the second year. But in some cases, you've seen a decline in the fertility of the land, the productivity of the land. At the same time, you have the Amish farm